The city's skyline glittered against the cold morning light, but none of its shine seemed to reach Richard Hale anymore. He sat beside his daughter's wheelchair in the quiet living room, staring at the girl who once radiated so much life that even strangers couldn't help but smile back at her. Emily used to dance in this very room, twirling to her favorite songs, her laughter echoing off the walls. Now she barely lifted her eyes, and when she did, there was nothing behind them but exhaustion and surrender. It had been 8 months since the accident, yet every day still felt like the first. Richard spent countless nights replaying the moment, the crash, the frantic rush to the hospital, the words he never wanted to hear, paralysis. He had built entire corporations, faced impossible decisions, and commanded thousands of employees, but nothing had ever made him feel as powerless as the sight of Emily lying in that hospital bed. He tried everything a desperate father with unlimited resources could. Specialists from around the world, high-end rehabilitation centers, the newest technologies, nothing brought her back. Emily had withdrawn so deeply into herself that even her therapists whispered that hope was fading. She stopped participating in her sessions, stopped eating well, and refused to talk about anything beyond the bare minimum. The vibrant girl he had raised was slipping further away each day. After watching her quietly refuse therapy again, Richard realized that his empire, his meetings, his success, none of it meant anything if he couldn't bring Emily back from the darkness swallowing her. So he stepped away from the company he had built from the ground up. People gasped in shock, but he didn't care. Emily needed him, and he would give up everything without hesitation. The next morning, he drove her to a small, unpolished community rehab center someone had recommended. It wasn't luxurious, and it certainly didn't match the elite places he had already tried, but it had one thing those places didn't: a therapist whose name kept coming up when people spoke about children who had lost all motivation. Richard expected someone older, someone with decades of credentials. But when the door opened and Daniel Brooks walked in, Richard was taken aback. Daniel was younger than he imagined, with an open, steady expression that instantly softened the heavy air in the room. There was no superiority, no clinical coldness, just kindness. He approached Emily slowly, not like a professional meeting a patient, but like a human being approaching another who had been hurting for too long. Emily didn't acknowledge him. She stared quietly at the window, her fingers motionless on her lap. Daniel didn't force conversation. He simply lowered himself to her eye level, his voice low and gentle. "You've been fighting a long time," he whispered softly, "and I know you're tired. But I'm here now. If you let me, I'll help you try again. Not alone. Together." For a moment, nothing happened. Then Emily blinked. Just once, but differently. With meaning, with awareness. Richard felt his breath catch. It was the smallest flicker, but it was the first sign of life he had seen in months. Daniel smiled faintly, as if that single blink meant everything. "Good," he murmured. "That's enough for today. We start there." And standing behind them, Richard felt something stir in his chest, something he had nearly forgotten how to feel. Hope.